Do you want some chips? These chips are supposed to be healthy, but they have 750 calories. It's a lie. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Be Like Christ. In our last video, we looked at Romans chapter 2, and again, I want to focus in on Romans chapter 2 a little bit later on in the passage. Paul's target audience for this particular section is the Jews, and he's getting on them because they are kind of hypocrites. They really think that they're great at keeping the law, but Paul reveals to them that actually they're not, and they don't stand in judgment over everybody else because they can't even keep the law themselves. So verse 17, Paul says, "But if you call yourself a Jew and rely on the law and boast in God and know his will and approve what is excellent, because you are instructed from the law, and if you are sure that you yourself are a guide to the blind, a light to those who are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of children, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth. You then, who teach others, do you not teach yourself? While you preach against stealing, do you steal? You who say that one must not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who boast in the law, dishonor God by breaking the law. For as it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you." It's that last phrase that I really want to focus in on. He says, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you, or because of the Jews. So the Jews thought they were really godly people, even so much that they could go around and tell people how they needed to fix their lives. And you really need to get these things straight with your life if you're ever going to be godly like I am. And Paul's revealing to them that they're not as godly as they think. And you might ask, well, how does that happen? How does a person get like that? And the truth is that anyone can go around and talk about godliness, but whether or not their life, his or her life, actually reflects that godliness that they talk about is an entirely different thing. Paul says that this has huge consequences. In fact, because of their inconsistency in what comes out of their mouth versus the way that they live, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles, or the people who are observing them. So I looked up the word blaspheme, and it means to speak irreverently about God or something sacred. The Gentiles looked at the hypocrite Jews and they laughed, because the way that the Jews were living caused the Gentiles to disrespect God, to think little of him, because the way that the Jews were living made their religion look like it was powerless, like it didn't have any real power to purify people to holiness. Hypocrites make the followers of any religion look bad, and it makes the moral principles of that religion look bad, and it even makes the author or the designer of those principles look bad. Any hypocrite can talk about godliness. Any hypocrite can acknowledge his or her compliance to a set of moral principles, but whether or not they actually follow through with that is a different story. And you can probably already tell where I'm going with this, and that's the application with the Christian life, between the way that Christians influence the perception that non-believers have of our God. For Christians, it should be a really sobering thing that it can be the case that other people disrespect God because of the way that they've seen me living. And personally, looking back into my past, I feel the regret of knowing that there are probably people who have a lesser evaluation of God and Christ and Christianity because they watched me claim Christ and behave in a different way. We cannot afford to claim Jesus with our mouths and then betray him with our lives. We've got to take that extremely seriously. We are told to represent or to show to people the image of Christ through our service like Christ served us, through our love like Christ loved us. And to mar that image is a terrible thing to do. Just on a point of clarification here, I do want to make sure that we understand that there's a difference between someone who's trying and failing versus someone who's a hypocrite. Those two things are not equivalent and shouldn't be thought of in the same way. It's really the hypocritical action that we're discussing in this video. But then I also have an appeal for people who are not Christians, and that is not to judge Christ and Christianity and God and the Spirit based on a few hypocrites that you've seen in the past, or maybe who are present in your life even today. Because again, any hypocrite can talk about godliness. If you're going to judge Christianity, do it on the standard of Christ. Look at his life, the way that he lived, the way that he loved, and then make that your gauge. Don't allow your perception of God to deteriorate because you've seen some people who maybe aren't what they should be. And now you're probably wondering why I had the bag of chips in the beginning of the video, and here's why. Denying Christianity because of a few hypocrites that you know or have heard about is a lot like evaluating a diet based off of people who may claim to keep the diet but actually don't. The illustration would go like this. So let's say you want to lose some weight and you want a diet, but you don't know anything about dieting. You just want to find a good one that works for you. And so you go up to your friend, you heard that your friend was on this diet, and you ask him, what about that diet you've been on? How's it working? And he hasn't had a lot of success with that. And he said, well, I tried it, and it was the no chip diet. The only thing I wasn't allowed to have was chips. And, it didn't work. I followed all the rules, and I didn't lose any weight. In fact, I gained 5 pounds. I've been doing that for the last 3 months, and it just doesn't work. But you distinctly remember your friend a month ago. If you knew that your friend broke the rules of the diet, you probably wouldn't take his advice that the diet didn't work very seriously. You would probably think, this is likely not a problem with the diet, it's probably a problem with my friend. We should take really that same logic and apply it back to Christianity. So if you're a non-Christian and you have any understanding of what the Bible prescribes for people, and then you see someone who you know who claims to be a Christian going off and breaking all of those rules, your assessment shouldn't be, oh, well, clearly Christianity doesn't work, so I'm just going to throw it away and reject it entirely. Your assessment should be, well, maybe I shouldn't judge the entire system by one individual who doesn't apply the principles of that system to himself. Maybe this is a problem not with Christianity. Maybe his advice on Christianity isn't the best, and he's not a good standard to use when evaluating Christianity. So maybe I need to set him aside and find a real source of truth. So as we wrap up to our two audiences here, for the non-Christians, don't judge the potency of Christianity on a measure of hypocrisy. That's extraordinarily important. Look at Jesus, use him as your standard. And then for the Christians, the worst thing that you could possibly do is be the reason why someone rejects Christ. Be the reason, like the Jews were to the Gentiles, that someone blasphemes or is irreverent towards God and the way that he has made for us to be reconciled to him. That's completely contrary to the mission that we've been given. The mission that we've been given is to bring people to Christ and to teach the gospel. And that's what we need to be doing with our lives. Hey everybody, and thanks for watching. Remember, leave some comments down below if you've got any. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Especially if you know somebody who could use this information. I wanted to make a quick announcement as we wrap up this video, and that is that I've long debated whether or not I want to bring any apologetics material into this channel. And I think that, well, that's for a number of reasons, but I think I finally concluded that I am going to do that. And so if you're interested in that information, make sure to tune in. Hopefully we'll do some information on Christian apologetics, historicity of the Bible, archaeological evidence of Scripture, and just some of the hard questions that people ask about God, and try to incorporate a little bit more of that as we move forward with the channel, because I know that there's a lot of people who need that. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe and tune in, and I'll see you guys next time.